Okay, we are going to go live soon. Okay. Hi, team. This is Naveen from 12 Principles Consulting, and welcome back again to this channel where we are going to have a series of Scrum Master interview. Typically, it is a mock interview. You can consider it for enabling yourself to reflect your Scrum Master skills. We are not promoting somebody to crack the interview. This is more for understanding people to know about themselves and explore their improvement areas. And today we have our volunteer as Sanath, Kashyap. So Sanath, welcome to this show and a live interview program.
Thanks, I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so Sanath, thanks for volunteering again. And this is going to be live broadcasted for everybody. And yeah, as you know, the questions are going to be really random and really mocking the live interview. So all set, let's get started.
Sure.
Okay, Sanath, why don't you just tell us about your interest in Scrum Mastery?
Actually, my interest started when, from the time I entered into the industry, which was about 2 years ago. I'm hearing all these buzzwords saying story points or like sprint review and sprints and all these things. And we used to hear Scrum and Agile everywhere. And we used to just use a Jira board and say, hey, we are Agile, we are using Scrum, like, let's do this. But then I wouldn't see a lot of difference between like what we were doing and a normal waterfall delivery and the Scrum which we were following. So that got me a little curious, and I started like exploring on the internet as to what Scrum is. And then again I found that there is again like a lot of misinformation on the internet as well. So then I thought, okay, let me just come to the book of truth, which is the Scrum guide, and learn from that. And that is what led me to the CSN course.
Okay, can you describe your first experience with Scrum?
Okay, so my first actual experience with Scrum was during one of my interactions with the client. So we were actually till then I was not really a process-oriented person. I was just saying, hey, okay, this is my deadline. This is by which we have to deliver, and just ensure that the delivery happens there. So that is the way which we were working. And then we just went into this client meeting, and at that point of time, the designs were not ready. And so the client just comes up to us and says, hey, designs are not ready, but we are agile, so start development. And being a front-end developer, I'm like, how can I develop without designs? I mean, that there has to be something which is wrong, some concept which is being misunderstood, because you're expecting me to add A plus B without knowing what A and B are. So that was actually my first really bad introduction to Scrum and Agile. Navin, you're on mute.
And what was your shock during that period? What shocked you actually?
The shocking thing for me was, I mean, even if we don't consider Scrum or Agile, it goes by general sense that a front-end development cannot happen without design. So just by using the Agile keyword, how can you even expect us to do it? So that was what actually shocked me.
Okay, if you were to redo your first experience with Scrum, how would it be?
Okay. Yeah. So if I were to redo it, like with the knowledge I have now, I would have actually, sat with the client and explained what actually Scrum and Agile means, and how things flow. And even though we say we are Agile, even though we say that we are compliant with change, we can't start development without at least having the minimum requirements met, without us being in the complex zone.
Okay. So you have been a Scrum Master.
No, not officially. No.
Okay. Then what interests you to be a Scrum Master?
The Scrum Master role is pretty much someone who facilitates stuff, who organizes, and so basically, it's like I pave the runway for the flight to take off. So we would have like all these old people who say when they build a building or something, hey, there's a little bit of me in that building. So whenever I build a runway, I build a path, and then I see a flight take off, that just makes you feel nice. Hey, like I've done something because of which some kind of development team has helped to actually do something.
Okay. Sanath, describe what a Scrum Master according to you, or what your experience is. What do you
Okay,
look at?
so the Scrum Master, to borrow one of your analogies, is like the director of a movie. So even though the all the spotlight and everything goes to the main actors who are actually in front of the camera, the actual work or the brains behind it is actually the director who is actually helping the actors to bring out the best in them. So to me, that is a Scrum Master who works to actually bring out the best in the team.
Okay. Describe me one qualities that you have that makes you a good Scrum Master.
One quality would be that I'd say that I'm a good listener. So I listen. I listen and I try to understand the tone of the person, the undertones of the people, reading between the sentences, and trying to actually understand where that emotion or that why that person is expressing something or saying something in a particular manner. What is the emotion behind it? Understanding that, I think that would be one of the strengths which would help me be an effective Scrum Master.
So what you are saying is you learn to listen to people, their emotions and their feeling, and that is one of your key strengths or qualities that you look at. Okay. Can you tell me what are the different listening skills or listening techniques the Scrum Master can use?
By listening techniques, like what exactly do you mean? Like, can you give me like an example?
Okay. So how do you know that the other person is listening to you?
Okay, 90% of our communication is non-verbal. So a simple thing like like a nodding of your head, or like a sympathetic smile if someone is explaining something which is a little sensitive, like things like that really go a long way in making people comfortable to actually talk to you and express things to you.
Okay. So is there any other way you can find out that a person is listening to you or not listening to you?
Well, I am usually used to having face-to-face conversations, and like knowing that having the eye contact and knowing that, hey, okay, I'm listening to you. You have my complete attention, because if you're talking to me and I'm on my phone, that just doesn't tell me that you're a good listener.
Okay. Now, Sanath, you have been a developer all through, and now, how would you plan yourself or prepare yourself to become a good and effective Scrum Master? What is your journey?
Well, my journey, the way I see it, would be to, just initially just step up and start delegating my tasks to more people, and trying to, initially manage that within my technical realm. And then the next step would be the Scrum Master. So basically, it's outside the Scrum framework, but something like a lead would be the next logical step, and then would be the Scrum Master, because being a Scrum Master will also require me to have a certain understanding of the business aspect of things, which will, which will take some more time for me to develop.
Okay. So let's assume that you join the team as a Scrum Master, and this is your first day as a Scrum Master in this team. How would you plan for your first day and what activities would you do?
Okay. So even before I actually joined the team, my first thing would be to actually understand what kind of a project I'm joining, what the actual project work is, the business aspect of things, and read all the documents which are there for the project in that current time. Have a word offline, unofficially before with the managers and the product owner, understand where the project is standing, what is, if they have an idea of the mood of the development team or how things are going. First basically be armed with information, so that I can then take action. So then, on the first day, initially just introduce myself, get to know the team, and nothing too serious or too forceful on the first day, because I first need to understand the environment there. And then slowly, once you start getting to know the people, once you start understanding them and understanding how they work and why certain processes are in a certain way, only then you can start taking your actions.
So, what will be your first focus area as you start off as a Scrum Master?
First focus area would definitely be understanding the processes they follow, understanding the reason behind the processes they follow, and getting to know why the project is in. If the project is extremely successful or doing really well, why it is so. If the project is not doing so well, why so. And just basically doing that would be my first step.
Okay, so let's assume that you have to deal with the team members who are seniors and the management, and these people, the teams that you're going to work with, they have absolute no understanding of the framework.
Mhm.
How do you get started with them?
Initially, so if they have no understanding of the framework, then it would either be if the project is working well, it would be working well, through broken systems, which is not the most efficient. So the first step would be to make them understand that why choosing a particular methodology is more effective and more efficient for them, and how it is going to impact their actual work, and how immediately it won't start showing results, and how it is more of a long-term process than getting results in the short term. Making them understand that, and just coaching them on what exactly Scrum is, what Scrum helps us achieve, why implement Scrum. Basically, just educating them.
Okay. Uh, what do you think is the outcome that you expect of a team as you begin as a Scrum Master for the team? What is the outcome that you are going to bring in for the team?
The first outcome that I would want in the team is for everyone to be open and transparent. I think that is a very undervalued quality of a team in most cases, because the moment you're open and transparent and communication lines are clear, half of your hurdles are eliminated right then and there. Because most of the things which most of the problems we face in our development cycle are because of communication gaps, or it's like, hey, I thought you said this, but apparently you did not. So being open and transparent is the first thing which I would implement.
Okay, interesting. So, what are the other qualities of a team?
I don't have it at the top of my head. There's self-organizing.
Okay.
Um, there was transparent. And there were a couple of others, but I don't have it at the top of my head.
Okay. Uh, let's go ahead with the project. And you have started the project. and you realize that the team members don't have the necessary skills. So you are a Scrum Master. You have the skill. What would you do?
So my first thing would be that since I do have the skill, as based on the condition of the project, suppose it is a really critical situation, then I take a onus on myself and pick out 2 to 3 developers who show good teaching abilities or leadership abilities, and pass on some of the skills to them, while in the background I'll ask my higher managers to probably onboard someone else who has the skill sets actually required and the leadership qualities to actually guide the team forward, because it is impractical for me in the long run to be hand-holding the team. For a short term, maybe for a sprint or two, if it's really required, it's possible, but not in the long term.
So given an option, would you like to be a Scrum Master or a subject matter expert and mentoring the team?
That's a really interesting question. I'd say Scrum Master.
Okay. Why you don't want to be, or you would prefer a Scrum Master over a subject matter expert? Subject matter expert, you're an expert in that area. Scrum Master.
Yeah. Well, for me, as much as I am interested in the technical aspects of things and being a subject matter expert in my technical domain, the management side of things attracts me a little more. So that's why I'd say that I'd want to be a Scrum Master.
Okay, which management book have you read recently?
Well, I actually don't read like these knowledge-heavy books. I usually try to get all this knowledge from articles on the internet. I prefer to read like fiction novels. Because I don't. Whenever I pick up a knowledge book, I tend to not finish them. So I choose to have small doses of articles rather.
Okay, and how frequently do you go through the articles?
I go to at least 2 to 3 articles a day.
Okay. So now, have you heard of these burn down charts?
No. Oh, sorry, burn down charts. Yes. The sprint burn down charts. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to share some of the burn down charts with you, and I want you to analyze these burn down charts and tell me what does these burn down charts tell you. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Here. So this is a burn down chart, and I would like you to tell me about these burn down charts.
Okay. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the PP1. Okay. So
burn down chart. The second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So let's go with first one. So
okay. So what this tells me is that the work happens, but work happens in short bursts. So the team is not consistent in finishing their tasks. So at the end of the sprint, they just finish off all their tasks. So they're not consistent throughout.
Okay.
Okay. And the chart 2 tells me that it's they've done all the work at the end. They've done nothing before that. So which is again not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
So the third chart is our the dream burn down chart, which is exactly like exactly as planned, and everything went on properly and smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And what chart 4 tells me that this looks more like a typical practical chart wherein the team has been a little up and down, which would have been due to various factors. So this is more of a typical chart wherein it is somewhere around the ideal slope, but then it has a bit of ups and downs. What chart 5 tells me is that the tasks have not been planned well, because we see that in the middle there's a huge spike upwards, which means that tasks have been added in the middle. And what chart 6 tells me is basically that they might have been, the team would have finished the task well before and some new requirement might have come up, or the team might have missed out some already given requirement and then they realized it towards the end and then picked it up.
Okay, let's go ahead and ask you. One of the quick thing is like most of the understandings that you have depicted, you have to reconsider them. Okay. Now, why do you think burn down charts are important?
Well, burn down charts are important because it gives us a sense of how the team is performing. So we know, if the tasks have been, completed on time, or if we are estimating them correctly, or like it shows us that either we are doing things well or we are not doing things well, and then it gives us the opportunity to question, okay, why are we not doing this correctly? Why is the chart not going down as it should?
Okay. Now, if the chart has on a y-axis the product backlog item, for example, if you're using user stories, then user stories on a y-axis, versus the chart has the task that you have created during the sprint as a plan on the y-axis and the task pending hours. Okay. Will your analysis of the sprint burn down chart be the same?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, I got it, because the bottom row had task cars and the top row had the product backlog icons.
Yeah. Now I would want you to look at this and see if you want to change your answer.
Yeah.
You said this was the third one was your dream, but then this is product backlog item burned on. And can you explain how does your team achieve this?
The team achieves that if we have the clear requirements at the beginning of the, when we created the backlog, and we are not, changing the backlog. So there are no new tasks added or nothing, and the product backlog items are um, estimated properly, and all the requirements, all the prerequisites to for those tasks are already in place. So basically, if you are working in the simple zone.
Okay. So in fact, this is a product backlog item burn down chart. Okay. And as and when the product backlog item is 100% complete, the burn down chart is going to show you how much is pending. So this is how much is spending at any given point of time. And this is the task hours spending at any given point of time. So which of these graph is good according to you and why? Which graph is good and why?
I would go with 4.
Okay, why?
Because it shows me that the hours required to complete a task is gradually decreasing over time. And like unlike the 5 and 6, there are no sudden spikes in the task bars.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Do you think that if there is a spike in the burn down chart, that is bad for the team and the sprint?
I wouldn't say it is. If there is a spike, it is bad because there might be a lot of factors for it, and that is it is things like that which Scrum is created for those uncertainties. So I would say it is typical behavior of a Scrum.
Okay, so uh, why are you considering that ups and downs are actually not good and you prefer the fourth one versus 5 and 6?
Because of the ideal case scenario, right? Like I said what I said was that spikes are not bad, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's ideal.
Okay. So
Um,
how do you deal with some uncertainties during the sprints then?
Uncertainties during sprints are, like I said, that is what Scrum has been created for, so for uncertainties during sprints. So we always need to take a really measured approach towards it. We need to, based on the uncertainty, we always need to create like risks, and we'll have methods to uh, go about that risk, and see how much it's going to affect, if it's going to be too much of an effect, or like then based on that we take a lot of other steps.
Okay, let's assume that uh, you're working with your team as a Scrum Master and the manager comes to you with some unexpected work during the sprint. And it's not going to consume a lot of time, maybe about 3 hours of one particular team member's time. How do you handle this? Manager says that this is just about 2.5, 3 hours of time. That's it. How do you handle this?
Well, I would technically not handle it because it's not, as a Scrum Master, it's not something which I need to do. I put it forward to the development team, and it's up to the development team to reply if they can take up the work or if they can't take up the work, because the manager might say 3 hours, but the development team actually knows how long it will take. So I let the development team take that.
And if the development team also says that yes, it is 3 hours, but
Sorry?
then the development team also says that it is 3 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
the manager is pushing the team to finish the work and take it up in spite of their sprint goals.
So if the development team is comfortable taking it, if the development team has no problem with it, then I don't see an issue. But then if the development team has a problem with it, or if the management, if the manager has created a habit of giving such things in the middle of the sprint, then that is a problem which we need to address. As long as the development team is comfortable taking once-off tasks like this, I don't see it as a huge issue.
Okay. Can you describe a situation where you had a tough time convincing the management or dealing with the manager?
Yeah, it happens quite often. Because whenever anything comes from a manager, for them it's always the priority. So then, as a development team, prioritization of the task becomes a problem, because sometimes you'll be working on like multiple tasks at the same time, and multitasking is never good. So yeah, there were instances that way. Then it became a recurring issue at one point of time. So then what we did was we were like, okay, hey, you put yourself in our shoes. We approached the manager, and we were like, okay, you put yourself in our shoes. Now we have these many tasks to complete. One individual developer has these many tasks to complete, and out of the 5 tasks which he has to complete, you say 4 are priority, and 4 needs to be delivered by the end of the sprint. But then those 4 tasks itself is 3 sprints worth of work. So you tell us among the highest priority, which is the highest in that, because we cannot do all 4. So that's how we slowly, made the manager understand from our point of view that it's a problem.
Okay. if a team approaches you with a impediment, how do you resolve the impediment, or what action would you take towards that impediment? How do you address
Yeah.
this?
So it depends on what kind of an impediment it is. If it is like an infrastructure issue or something, then the development team definitely can't, handle it on their own. So that is where I step in, facilitate a few things, talk to people and arrange for whatever is required. If it is an impediment like, the tasks are too large, then I'd probably arrange a sit down of the development team and explain that they need to break down the tasks further if it's things like that. Or if it's a problem like between the product owner telling that the bring coming up with new requirements and the development team not able to achieve them, then probably sit them down and arrange a dialogue between them to make each other understand what the problems are, and then also try to educate them on how things can be handled better.
Interesting. So, describe sprint retrospective, please.
Sprint retrospective is, to me, one of my favorite Scrum ceremonies, actually, because, like I said, open and transparency, I'm a big advocate for it, and sprint retrospective just screams being open and transparent. So, throughout the sprint, the development team would have had a lot of issues or a lot of things which they want to get off their chest, or they might have had experiences which they really like, or which they did not like at all. So sprint retrospective is a place where we go there, we sit and we discuss. Okay, this is what we liked in what we did. This is what we did not like, and we gave our sprint review, and the stakeholders told these things in the sprint review. Suppose we are not able to achieve something, that is where we actually sit down and have an open dialogue as to why things went a certain way and how we can improve on it. So yeah, sprint retrospective is.
Okay, interesting. So, how do you facilitate a sprint retrospective, and what steps would you take as a Scrum Master?
The main thing about a sprint retrospective is for people to feel comfortable, for people to be ready to feel vulnerable in front of the people in the room. I see right now that from my experience, sprint retrospectives are not really effective, because when people speak something negative, or when they tell, hey, we can do this in a different way, they usually tend to get attacked. So we tend to have sprint retrospectives anonymously, which I'm not an advocate for. Uh, I So the build up to the sprint retrospective actually starts from day one of sprint one, where you need to actually make sure that the team members are comfortable with each other, are treating each other as friends and colleagues, not formal colleagues, but as actual friends with whom they can be open, with whom they can actually have an open dialogue. So the build up to the sprint retrospective starts there. And it's always a good practice to start a retrospective with some icebreakers, to because all the meetings are always formal. It's very little fun. Everyone is discussing serious stuff. So it's always good to start sprint retrospectives with some fun activity like an icebreaker or something, and then actually get to the meat of the meeting.
Which technique have you used in the sprint retrospective?
So there was this one thing which we do in the sprint retrospective, which I really liked, where the Scrum Master every week would come up with some personal question, which every individual needs to answer, and that answer would be anonymous, and then the entire team guesses, okay, who it might be. Like, for example, like you say a fact about yourself, and then you'd go like, hey, I like animals, and then the team guesses, okay, who might that person be who likes animals, and then
Okay.
that actually leads to a lot of open conversations, a lot of informal conversations, which actually lets people put their guard down, and then when you get to the retrospective, you tend to get more honest opinions.
Okay. In your experience, which retrospective action item made you feel like, wow, this was a beautiful and a good action item or a plan that we had after the retrospective? Which was that situation and what was that?
I frankly haven't come across one yet.
Okay.
Because yeah, like I said, the retrospectives right now are anonymous, and where people usually don't tend to talk more positive stuff than the negative stuff. So I still not come across one, but I definitely love to come across one.
Okay, if I have to ask you the other way then, what was one decision that as a team you took or the team had taken and you felt like, no, this was uh, really not a good decision or this shouldn't be a decision. And yet, because of the whole team's agreement, you had to agree to it. What was that?
Okay. So we have this powerful tool called Jira, which we use across a lot of things. But particularly in this one particular team in which I was working with, we decided not to track the bugs on Jira and use a separate platform for tracking the bugs. And then that just led to a whole lot of mess. And that tool was basically, you can consider it to be an Excel sheet of bugs.
Okay.
So, and then it became really difficult to track who is working on which bug, who is the owner for which bug, who has reported which bug. It just became a whole load of mess, and a task which we could have finished in 2 sprints, it pulled on for 8 sprints, and it still did not get done. And the total bug count was around 250. That's it, and not able to
Okay.
complete that in 8 sprints.
So that was uh, a very bad improvement decision that you took. Okay. Huh. Now, let's look at this. You are going to be the Scrum Master, and I hope you also know that as a Scrum Master, you need to teach, mentor, and coach your teams about Scrum, right? Now, you have the next 3 to 4 minutes to pick up any topic in Scrum and explain it. Assume that your audience are those people who are absolutely new to Scrum. Pick any topic in Scrum and explain the topic for the next 3 4 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I would choose to explain sprint planning. Okay. So sprint planning is basically a ceremony we do at the beginning of every sprint, where we actually go through the product backlog items and decide what items which we can pick up. The product backlog items are actually the set of tasks which need to be completed for successfully building the product that we are building. So in the sprint planning meeting, we go through the product backlog items, and then we choose which particular task we want to actually pick up. But before we do that, we would also have like a backlog refinement meeting before the sprint planning, where we would have actually gone through these product backlog items and broken them down into smaller tasks. And those tasks are what we are going to pull in to the sprint in our actual sprint planning meeting. So in the sprint planning meeting, in case even after the refinement, even in case you have any doubts with your about your task or anything, that is the time you choose to ask the product owner as to if there are still some clarifications you need even after the refinement. This is your platform, and these tasks, whatever you're going to be picking up in the sprint planning meeting, is what you're going to be working on for the rest of the sprint, however long the sprint lasts for. And these are the tasks which you're going to be reporting on in the daily scrum, which is going to be held every day morning. So any problems you have with the tasks need to be reported in the daily scrum. And basically the sprint planning meeting is just reserved for you committing to the estimated amount of tasks which you think you can do in that particular sprint. So it's not a hard and fast rule that if you pick up 10 tasks, you're supposed to finish all the 10 tasks. You're just estimating that in given the time of the sprint, you can finish those 10 tasks.
Okay. You have any other questions?
um, that's to you, Naveen.
Okay. You have any questions to clarify or anything to ask on?
mm, Nothing right now.
Okay. So let me just go ahead and wind up this interview here. And can I give you some feedback on this interview?
Oh, definitely eager to listen to that.
Okay. So one of the feedback for you is you have a lot of experience as a developer, and your mindset is from the development point of view. Okay. And you're in that stepping stone towards being a Scrum Master. So one of the learnings and the feedback for you is I know you have been very much interested and you have been studying and learning a lot. But now, as a Scrum Master, you need to get your leadership qualities, communication skills, and a lot of personality that determines that somebody can look up to you as a Scrum Master, as a leader. Okay. So one of the, it is an improvement point for you is that you have a lot of ideas and you need to shape that ideas in a meaningful way. So how do you express your ideas more than what you have done today? That's your feedback. Okay. Will I put you under the Scrum Master? Yes, I will talk to you about this after this session because that's a continuation part of our feedback. So now I'm going to stop this feedback and the interview, and we are going to stop the live feed. So for all the people who have been watching this program, thank you so much. I could see that there are a lot of people who are watching this live. And if you want to also go through this kind of an interview and also express or discover yourself about the Scrum Mastery and your own capabilities, do leave the feedback or the comment on this video, and we will come back. Leave your email address so that we can post you the schedule or the next interview. And you can also volunteer. So today we had Sanath Kashyap, who is a volunteer for this interview. And Sanath, thank you so much. You have been part of this and spent your time, and we appreciate that. Best wishes for your Scrum Master journey, and looking forward for more discussions in future. Thank you, Sanath.
Thank you, Naveen. It was my pleasure.
Okay. Okay, guys, thank you so much. And if you have still not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and leave your comments and observations